The house had learned my footsteps. Even now, months after my son's funeral, the oak floors still answered me with the same soft creak near the hallway window, the same sigh near the kitchen doorway. 42 years of living had trained the house to recognize me, and in return, I had learned its moods, how the morning light warmed the staircase, how the walls cooled in the late afternoon, how silence settled differently at night now that my boy was gone. My name is Margaret Ellis. I am 74 years old. I have buried a husband, raised a son alone, and survived things no one ever wrote down because women of my generation were taught that endurance was private. But nothing, not even grief, prepared me for betrayal that arrived wearing concern. It began 3 weeks after my son Daniel passed. Carla came over with soup. She always brought soup. Just something light, she said, stepping into the kitchen as if she still lived here. You don't want anything too heavy at your age. At your age. She said it kindly. Almost lovingly. That was her gift, words that sounded gentle but carried weight if you listened closely. She set the container on the counter and glanced around the kitchen, her eyes flicking to the cabinets, the china hutch, the antique radio Daniel had restored for me when he was 17. You've done well keeping this place, she said. But you know, homes like this are harder to sell these days. I stirred my tea slowly. Let the spoon clink. Let silence stretch. I'm not selling, I said. She smiled the way people do when they think you're confused. Well, not yet, she replied. But eventually. Assisted living is inevitable, Margaret. It's better to plan early. That was the first time she said it out loud. Inevitable. As if my life had already been boxed, labeled, and scheduled without my consent. Daniel had been gone 21 days. My grief was still sharp, still raw, still waking me in the middle of the night reaching for a phone that would never ring again. Carla knew that. And still, she spoke about my future like I was furniture. I nodded. I always nodded. People mistake nodding for agreement. Sometimes it's just camouflage. The following Monday, Carla showed up with a man named Rick. Just to take a look, she said. No pressure. Rick wore work boots that had never seen dirt. His truck was clean enough to reflect the sky. He walked through my house like he was already pricing it for demolition. These cabinets are outdated, he said. This trim could be salvaged. Original hardwood's nice, but buyers prefer uniform flooring. Salvaged. That word stayed with me. When Rick left, Carla sat beside me at the dining table. I know change is hard, she said softly. But Daniel would want you taken care of. Daniel would want me respected. But I didn't say that. Instead, I let my shoulders slump. Let my hands shake just enough to notice. Oh, I forget things sometimes, I murmured. It's all so overwhelming. Her eyes sharpened, not with concern, but calculation. That night, after she left, I unlocked the small cedar box hidden beneath the loose stair tread. Inside was a leather-bound ledger. Daniel had bought it for me years ago when I started managing the household finances digitally. Write things down, he'd said. Paper doesn't disappear. I opened to a fresh page and wrote. March 12th. Carla brought contractor Rick. Claims kitchen outdated. No written estimate provided. Took photos of cabinets and trim after they left, then I pulled out my phone and photographed every corner of my kitchen. I didn't know yet how important those pictures would become. By April, the house had turned into a parade. Contractors. Designers. Friends of friends. Each one arrived with Carla. Each one spoke around me instead of to me. She probably won't remember what it looked like before, one of them said, not even whispering. I let my mouth fall open slightly. Let confusion soften my eyes. Oh dear, I said. Did we already talk about the bathroom? Carla squeezed my hand. Too tightly. Yes, Margaret, she said. We talked about it last week. We hadn't. But she wrote it down in her notebook anyway. That was when I realized something important. Carla wasn't just planning renovations. She was building a narrative. A story where I was fragile, forgetful, incapable. A story that made her the responsible one. It started small. The silver serving spoons from my grandmother's set disappeared after the dining room refresh. Carla shrugged. Old things get misplaced during construction. Then the walnut side table Daniel had refinished disappeared. Probably donated by mistake, she said. You should downsize anyway. Downsize. Every word she used had a blade hidden inside it. That night, I photographed every remaining antique. I numbered them. Logged them. I stopped trusting daylight. I installed a cheap motion camera in the hallway, hidden behind a ceramic vase. When I reviewed the footage, I saw Rick's assistant carrying out a wrapped bundle at 7:14 p.m. Carla watched. She didn't stop him. By May, Carla presented me with invoices. Stacks of them. Just formalities, she said. Insurance paperwork. Future planning. $4,800, cabinet refinishing. $9,200, flooring materials. $6,500, electrical updates. My name was typed at the bottom as the approving party. I hadn't signed anything. I adjusted my glasses and squinted. That seems like a lot, I said softly. She sighed. Construction is expensive now, Margaret. You wouldn't understand. I wrote everything down that night. Every invoice. Every date. Every discrepancy. Then I hired my own inspector. Quietly, his name was Thomas Reed. Retired city inspector. No connection to Carla. No patience for nonsense. He walked through my house with a flashlight and a frown. These cabinets weren't refinished, he said. They were sprayed. Poorly. He tapped the floor with his boot. These boards are reused. Not new. Someone charged you for premium material and installed leftovers. He opened the breaker panel. This wiring? Cosmetic at best. Thomas looked at me carefully. Who's handling this work? My daughter-in-law, I said. He nodded slowly. I'll write a full report, he said. And Margaret? Yes. This isn't neglect. This is fraud. I slept better that night than I had in months. Carla chose the day. Sunday. Family dinner. Everyone present. She laid the invoices on the table like evidence. Total comes to just over $60,000, she said. Once the house sells, it'll balance out. I folded my hands. Oh, I said. Before that, I'd like to show everyone something. I reached for the ledger. And the room went quiet. The room smelled like roast chicken and denial. Carla sat at the head of the table, invoices spread neatly in front of her like a deck of cards she was certain would win. My brother-in-law cleared his throat. My niece stared at her phone. Everyone waited for me to nod again. Instead, I opened the ledger. The leather creaked softly, like it had been waiting for this moment. I forget things, I said, voice trembling just enough to sell it. So I started writing them down. Carla's smile stiffened. I turned the first page. March 12th. Contractor Rick. No written estimate. Cabinets labeled salvage. I looked up. Do you remember that day, Carla? She laughed lightly. Margaret, you're confusing. I slid my phone across the table and tapped the screen. A photo of my kitchen appeared. Time-stamped. High resolution. Every cabinet intact. Then another photo. And another. Silence crept in, slow and heavy. I kept going. April 3rd. Dining room refresh. Walnut side table removed from home at 7:14 p.m. I pressed play. The hallway camera footage flickered on screen. Rick's assistant, wrapped bundle in his arms. Carla standing nearby. Watching. Someone gasped. Carla's face drained of color. That's out of context, she snapped. She's confused. No, I said calmly. I was very clear. I turned another page. May 2nd. Invoice for premium oak flooring. Inspector confirmed reused materials. I slid a second folder onto the table. Thomas Reed's report. Stamped. Signed. Official. The words misrepresentation and overbilling jumped off the page. My brother-in-law leaned forward, reading. What the hell is this? He asked Carla. She stood abruptly. This is ridiculous. She's paranoid. She's grieving. I closed the ledger gently. No, I said. I'm observant. The next morning, I met with Elaine Porter, our longtime family attorney. She read everything without interrupting. The ledger. The photos. The footage. The inspector's report. When she finished, she removed her glasses. Margaret, she said carefully, this is criminal. I nodded. I'd like to proceed. Elaine filed fraud charges by Friday. By Monday, the contractors were calling. Rick showed up first. Sweaty. Nervous. No boots this time. Look, he said, hands raised. We were told you approved everything. Carla said you wanted cash estimates. I wanted honesty, I replied. He swallowed hard. She told us antiques were part of the payment. Said you were moving out anyway. I recorded everything. By the end of the week, 3 contractors had given sworn statements. Every one of them pointed to Carla. Carla didn't come to the house anymore. She sent messages instead. You're ruining this family. Daniel would be ashamed. You don't know what you're doing. Elaine handled the rest. Restitution. Criminal charges. Supervised visitation only. The judge used the words, calculated exploitation of a vulnerable adult. Carla cried in court. I did not. The renovations were redone properly. Local craftsmen. Fair prices. Honest work. I restored the walnut table. The silver spoons were returned, dented, but intact. On the day the final paperwork cleared, I sat alone in the living room, sunlight pouring through the windows. I placed the ledger back in its cedar box. Daniel had been right. Paper doesn't disappear. I started volunteering with a senior legal aid group. Teaching women how to document. How to protect themselves. How to be quiet only when it serves them. People ask me how I did it. I smile. I paid attention. I say, the last thing I did was change the locks. Not out of fear, out of finality. The locksmith worked quietly, respectful, like someone who understood that this house had already survived enough noise. When he handed me the new keys, I weighed them in my palm. They felt heavier than the old ones, as if they carried intention. That evening, I walked through every room alone. The house no longer felt like